The morning began like any other in Cedar Falls, but there was a sharpness in the November air that made everything feel slightly off, as if the world was holding its breath. The town usually woke slowly, coffee shops opening their doors, dogs barking in fenced yards, the river trail coming alive with joggers and retirees taking their early walks. But on this particular Saturday, the path was unusually empty, blanketed by a thin layer of fog that clung to the ground like something reluctant to let go. 8-year-old Lily Carter rode her small turquoise bike along the path, her breath forming little clouds in the air. She hummed to herself, bundled in her favorite purple jacket, determined to reach the big oak tree near the river before the sun fully rose. It was her weekend ritual, a sense of little girl independence in a quiet American town. But this morning, the ritual broke. Something caught her eye near the tall reeds, a canvas bag, old and dirt-stained, sitting oddly upright as if someone had placed it there deliberately. Lily slowed, curiosity overpowering caution. She parked her bike and stepped toward it, hearing the river rush gently behind her. The bag looked heavy. The zipper was halfway open. The fabric was damp, but not from the morning dew. It was warm. She hesitated, glancing around, expecting someone to come running and claim it, maybe a fisherman or someone who had dropped it accidentally. But the trail was silent, not even a distant runner or dog walker. Lily nudged the bag with her shoe. It trembled. She stumbled back with a gasp. It wasn't the wind. It wasn't her imagination. Something inside had moved. Her heart thudded nervously, but curiosity won again. She crouched, gripping the handle. The bag felt heavier than it looked, solid but also shifting. She lifted it with both hands, surprised by the warmth radiating through the canvas, almost like holding a living creature. Maybe it's a puppy, she whispered to herself, imagining a little dog tangled in fishing nets or abandoned by someone cruel. Or maybe it's like a baby raccoon. The thought of rescuing a baby animal excited her enough that she didn't consider the possibility of danger, or disease, or anything that would have sent an adult running for help. Lily dragged the bag toward her bike, but it was too heavy to lift and ride at the same time. So instead, she hugged it against her chest, wobbling slightly under the weight as she began walking home, half a mile through the woods, then across the quiet street where her house sat near the edge of town. She made it only a few steps when she heard it, a soft whine. She froze. It wasn't coming from the bag. It was coming from the trees. A moment later, a skinny brown dog stepped out from the brush. Its ribs were visible beneath its matted fur, and one ear hung at a strange angle like it had been torn. But its eyes, dark, glistening, frantic, were fixed on Lily. The dog whimpered again, louder this time, and trotted toward her with a limp. Lily tightened her grip on the bag and took a careful step back. The dog stopped. Its tail was tucked. It wasn't aggressive, it looked scared, terrified even. "It's okay," Lily said nervously. "I'm just going home." But the dog shook its head, an odd human-like gesture, and barked sharply, almost as if telling her no. Lily frowned. "I have to take this home. Someone might be hurt or something." The dog whimpered, circled her, and nudged the bag with its nose. Hard. Then it backed away and barked again, louder, more desperate. It didn't want her to take it. It wanted her to open it. Lily didn't understand. She looked down at the canvas bag. It was still warm, still trembling every few seconds. Her hands shook as she took another step forward, ignoring the dog, telling herself she wasn't doing anything wrong, she was just helping. But the dog was relentless. It leaped in front of her, blocking her path, crying now, actual tears forming at the corners of its eyes, dripping down its muzzle. Lily's stomach twisted. Dogs didn't cry like humans, right? She swallowed. "What's wrong, boy?" The dog pressed its head against the bag again, pawing urgently, whining like it was pleading. Its entire body trembled with whatever emotion it was feeling, fear, desperation, or something Lily had never seen in an animal before. She wanted to set the bag down. She wanted to unzip it right there on the trail. But the woods felt dark and heavy, the fog thicker now, making the forest seem like it was closing in around them. So she tightened her grip, whispered a shaky apology to the dog, and walked faster toward home. The dog followed. Not close enough to touch her, but always a few steps behind, whimpering, barking, crying whenever she stumbled or the bag shifted in her arms. It was like escorting her, guarding her, or warning her. The closer they got to home, the worse the dog's behavior became. It began circling her in frantic loops, trying to stop her, trying to steer her back toward the river. And every few minutes the bag twitched. By the time Lily reached her front yard, she was sweating despite the cold. She pushed open the porch gate, the dog still hot on her heels. It jumped onto the steps with her, scratching at the porch boards, barking urgently toward the front door. "Mom," Lily shouted, breathless. "Mom, you have to." The front door swung open, and her mother, Erin Carter, appeared, hair in a messy bun, wearing an oversized sweatshirt, holding her morning coffee. Her brow furrowed instantly. "Lily, what on earth? Why is there a dog? And what is that you're holding?" Lily set the bag on the porch. It twitched. Erin's coffee mug slipped from her fingers and shattered on the wooden boards. "Oh my God, did something move?" Before Lily could answer, the dog shoved itself between them, pawing repeatedly at the bag, barking with such force that Erin stepped back in fear. Then it happened. A sound came from inside the bag. Soft, weak, muffled. A tiny, broken whimper. A sound no puppy or raccoon could make. Erin stared at the canvas bag, frozen in horror, as the dog pressed its nose against the zipper and cried harder. Lily clutched her mother's sleeve. "Mom, I think it's alive." Erin knelt slowly, her fingers shaking as she reached for the zipper. But before she could pull it open, the bag moved again. Harder, and something inside let out a sound so faint, so desperate, so unmistakably human, that Erin and Lily screamed at the same time. And the dog howled. Erin Carter knelt on the porch, her breath coming in tight, shallow pulls as the canvas bag twitched again. The sound inside, weak, trembling, unmistakably human, seemed to echo through her bones. She felt her pulse hammering in her neck, her fingers trembling so badly she could barely grip the zipper. The dog kept whining, packing in short bursts, circling the bag like it was guarding something sacred. Every few seconds, it nudged the canvas with its nose, then looked at Erin with pleading eyes, urging her to hurry. "Mom, what if it's a person?" Lily whispered, voice cracking. Erin swallowed hard. "I don't know, baby." Her mind raced. Why would there be someone inside a bag? It didn't make sense. But the sound, that tiny, desperate gasp, was nothing like an animal. It was softer, fragile, terrifyingly small. Erin reached out again, her hand hovering over the zipper. Her instincts screamed danger, disease, injury, something terrible, something she wasn't prepared for. But she couldn't walk away, not when she knew something alive was suffering inside. The dog nudged her shoulder with its paw, almost shoving her forward. "Okay," she breathed shakily. "Okay, I'm opening it." She pulled the zipper halfway, then stopped. "Mom," Lily squeaked. Erin froze. She'd seen skin, pale, bruised, too tiny to belong to an adult. Her heart lurched painfully. She forced herself to continue. The zipper slid the rest of the way down. What she saw inside made her blood turn to ice. A newborn. A tiny baby wrapped in a torn sweatshirt, skin blotched with bruises and dirt, lips an alarming shade of blue. The child's eyelids fluttered weakly, struggling, fighting, clinging to life with every faint breath. Erin let out a sharp gasp. "Oh my God." Lily's trembling hands flew to her mouth. Is it dying?" "I don't know," Erin whispered, voice breaking. The dog howled, a long, aching sound that made the hair on Erin's arms rise. Her brain snapped into crisis mode. "I need my phone," she said, standing abruptly. "I need to call 911 right now." She reached into her pocket, fingers shaking so violently she nearly dropped the phone. She hit the dial for emergency services. No signal. Her screen flashed red, no service. Her stomach dropped. Their neighborhood always had dead zones. She rushed to the edge of the porch, arm raised, searching for a single bar. Nothing. Panic rose in a tidal wave. This baby needed help, immediate help. It wasn't crying, too weak even for that. Its chest rose in uneven, terrifying little jerks. "Lily, go inside and grab towels now." Lily sprinted inside. Aaron knelt again, gently lifting the baby from the bag. It was warm, too warm, feverish, and frighteningly limp. She cradled it in her arms, whispering, "Hey, sweetheart, it's okay, it's okay. We've got you." But the infant didn't respond. The dog pressed its forehead to the baby's tiny foot, whimpering. Then it turned abruptly and ran to the yard's gate, scratching, barking, looking back like it wanted Aaron to follow. "What is it?" Aaron shouted. "What do you want?" The dog barked again, loud, sharp, insistent, then sprinted toward the woods behind the house. But Aaron shook her head. "No, I'm not going back there. I need to get to help." Lily ran back with 2 warm towels. Aaron wrapped the baby gently, holding it close to her chest for warmth, praying she wasn't already too late. "We have to go," she said urgently. "Get in the truck." Her truck was parked at the side of the house. Aaron adjusted the baby in her arms and began rushing toward it, Lily running beside her. The dog barked furiously, running back and forth between Aaron and the wooded path, like it was begging her not to leave or begging her to follow. "I can't," Aaron shouted, breath shaky. "I have to get this baby help." But the dog didn't give up. It sprinted toward them and blocked their path with its thin, trembling body. It barked, growled, not at them, but at the direction they were heading. Then it looked toward the woods and let out a cry that sounded almost human. Lily tugged at her mother's sweatshirt. "Mom, I think it wants to show us something." Aaron clenched her jaw. She didn't have time for this. Every second mattered. The baby's breaths were growing more uneven, shallower, lighter. But something in the dog's pleading eyes stopped her cold. This animal wasn't acting out of instinct. It wasn't panicking. It was communicating. It knew something. Something important. Something connected to the baby. And the way it cried, like it was heartbroken, desperate, it wasn't just guiding them. It was begging. Lily whispered, "Mom, what if there's someone else out there?" That hit Aaron like a punch to the chest. Someone else. Someone injured. Someone who put the baby in the bag. Someone who needed help too. Aaron hesitated, caught between 2 impossible choices. Go to the hospital. Or follow the dog. The baby whimpered, a weak, thin, dying sound. Aaron made her decision. "Okay," she whispered. "Just a minute, but if this gets dangerous, we turn back. Lily, stay close." The dog let out a relieved whine and immediately took off toward the woods, glancing back every few seconds to make sure they followed. Aaron held the infant tight, feeling its frail body twitch against her chest as they stepped into the tree line. The forest swallowed them instantly, dark, cold, unwelcoming. Leaves crunched underfoot as they moved deeper, the air growing colder with each step. The dog led them with purpose, never wandering, never slowing. "Mom, are you sure?" Lily whispered. "No," Aaron admitted, "but something tells me we're meant to see whatever this dog is taking us to." They walked for nearly a minute when the dog suddenly stopped and stared ahead, ears pinned flat. Aaron followed its gaze. She froze. The old hunting shack, abandoned for years, leaned crookedly among the trees. The windows were boarded. The roof sagged. The entire structure seemed to pulse with a kind of dark, heavy stillness. The dog whined and scraped desperately at the door. Aaron approached cautiously. "Is someone inside?" She reached for the handle, but before she could touch it, a faint sound came from behind the door. A muffled thud, like someone trying to get out. Lily grabbed her mother's sleeve, eyes wide with terror. "Mom, someone's in there." Erin felt cold terror climb her spine, and just as she reached for the door, the baby in her arms went completely still. Its tiny chest stopped moving. Erin gasped, shaking its tiny body gently. "No, no, 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 stay with me, sweetheart." The dog howled, pawing harder at the door. Erin screamed for Lily to stand back, then pulled the shack door open. And as the hinges screeched, something inside the dark room shifted. And someone whispered, "Help!" Before Erin could see who spoke, the baby suddenly gasped, one sharp, painful breath like it was fighting for life. And everything went silent. The shack smelled of damp wood, rot, and something metallic that made Erin's stomach turn. The morning sun barely reached inside, and shadows danced across the warped floorboards as the dog pressed its nose against the ground, whining incessantly. Lily clutched her mother's sweatshirt, eyes wide, frozen halfway between fear and curiosity. The baby in Erin's arms trembled faintly, and Erin knew she couldn't waste another second. Every heartbeat felt like a countdown. Erin took a deep breath. "We have to see what's in here," she whispered, her voice steadier than she felt. Lily nodded silently, gripping her mother's sleeve as if letting go would mean losing them both. The dog stayed at the threshold, its whining softening into a low growl, like a sentinel guarding something precious. Erin carefully placed the baby on the floor, cradled in the towels Lily had brought. The child made a faint whimpering noise, the sound so fragile it broke Erin's heart. The dog sniffed the baby, then turned its gaze toward a corner of the shack. That's when Erin noticed the second bag, half hidden under a rotting pile of boards and leaves. It was exactly like the first one, canvas, dirt-streaked, weighted as if something inside resisted gravity. But this one was leaking a dark, sticky substance. Erin's pulse quickened, her stomach twisting with dread. She knelt closer, hesitant. "Lily, stay back," she warned, though she could barely keep her own legs from trembling. The dog whined and pawed at the second bag, then barked sharply as though shouting, "Open it." Now, Erin shook her head. This had gone far enough. Bobby's, abandoned or injured, terrified, almost dead, should have been the worst of it. But something about the second bag radiated danger. She couldn't see inside, and that uncertainty was worse than any visible horror. Still, instinct overrode fear. Carefully, she unzipped the bag. Inside were clothes torn and soaked, and a small pile of personal items, a wallet, a faded phone, and a driver's license. Erin froze. The license belonged to a woman reported missing 3 weeks earlier, Clara Whitman, age 27, known for her quiet demeanor and work at the local library. The discovery sent a chill through Erin's veins. She's missing," Lily asked, voice trembling. Erin could barely nod. Her hands were numb, heart hammering. There were other signs too, dark stains on the clothes that could only mean violence, a faint metallic scent lingering above the bag, sharp and bitter. Erin glanced back at the dog. Its eyes were wide, almost pleading. Something in its gaze told her that Clara, and whoever had put the baby in the first bag, was still close. Before Erin could react further, a snap of a twig from behind the shack froze her blood. "Who's there?" Erin called, voice tight and trembling. No answer, just the echo of the twig, then another step, slow, deliberate, heavy boots crunching leaves. The hair on Erin's neck stood on end. The dog's growl escalated into a low, menacing bark. It positioned itself in front of the second bag, and the baby, fur bristling, teeth bared, eyes locked on the approaching figure. A man emerged from the shadows of the trees, gaunt, dirty. He reeked of sweat and something chemical. His eyes were hollow but sharp, almost manic. The first thing Erin noticed was a tattoo curling up his forearm, a winding, dark line that matched the river trail they had walked that morning. She had seen that symbol before on a missing persons report in the news, on the woman's file. The man's gaze fell on the baby, then the second bag, and finally the dog. His voice was low and ragged, carrying the weight of menace and desperation all at once. "You weren't supposed to find that." Aaron instinctively stepped in front of the baby. "Who are you? What did you do to her?" The man's eyes darted nervously and his lips twitched like he was holding back a scream. "It's not what you think," he muttered. But the dog growled louder, lunging forward. He flinched, as if startled by its ferocity. "Stay back," Aaron shouted. Lily clutched her mother's hand, trembling. The baby whimpered, tiny arms flailing weakly. Aaron's mind raced. Who was this man? What connection did he have to the baby and to Clara Whitman? The man took another step forward, hands raised slightly in a half-hearted plea. She's my insurance," he said, voice cracking. "If she's alive, they'll leave me alone. If not," he trailed off. His meaning was clear. Aaron's stomach turned. The dog barked again, lunging toward him. Aaron grabbed Lily and pulled her back, holding the baby closer. Fear, adrenaline, and instinct merged into one urgent, sharp clarity. They had to move. Now. Aaron's eyes darted around the shack. The exit led back to the woods, but the path was narrow, covered with fallen branches and thick underbrush. The man moved faster than she expected, his steps uneven but purposeful. Panic surged. The dog darted in front of Aaron again, barking like a guardian, then turned sharply toward the woods behind the shack. It was as if it was telling them, "This way. Hurry." Aaron didn't hesitate. Clutching the baby to her chest, she grabbed Lily's hand and followed the dog into the forest. Leaves scraped at their faces, branches tore at clothing. Every step was punctuated by the man's footsteps behind them, the sound heavy, deliberate, threatening. Lily stumbled over a root. "Mom." "I've got you," Aaron shouted, yanking her back upright. Her heart pounded like a jackhammer. The baby whimpered again and the dog barked furiously, snapping at the man who now seemed dangerously close. They burst into a small clearing near the creek and Aaron's mind raced. Where could they go? The only escape was back toward the main road, but the man was faster than she anticipated. And the baby, if she slowed, the child wouldn't survive. Then, as if guided by instinct, the dog veered left, crashing through the brush at incredible speed. Aaron followed, forced by necessity, Lily stumbling to keep up. The man's shout echoed behind them, curses spilling into the morning air. And then it happened. The dog stopped abruptly. Aaron nearly collided with it. There, in the dim light filtering through the trees, a second figure appeared, smaller, hunched, holding something shiny. The man froze and Aaron's heart stopped. She didn't recognize the figure, but the glint in its hand, the way it caught the sun, made her chest tighten with dread. The baby in her arms went completely still, like it sensed the danger. The dog growled low in its throat, teeth bared. Lily clung to her mother, eyes wide. Aaron's mind raced. If she slowed, if she hesitated, the baby could die, or worse. The figure stepped forward, another rustle in the leaves. A shadow passed over the clearing, and then the man lunged. Aaron screamed, lunging to shield the baby. The dog barked, lunged again. Lily shrieked. Time slowed, every sound amplified, the snap of twigs, the baby's faint whimper, the man's ragged breath. And just as they were about to collide, something exploded into the clearing. A loud, piercing whistle, the screech of brakes from a distant vehicle, and a hand grabbing the man's arm, yanking him back into the shadows. Aaron froze, chest heaving. The baby whimpered weakly, still alive but barely. The dog crouched low, growling. Lily clung to her mother, trembling uncontrollably. And the man, he disappeared into the trees, dragged by someone or something that no one could see clearly yet. Aaron's legs shook so badly she almost collapsed. The dog circled her, sniffing the baby, whining softly, tail tucked but eyes watchful. Lily whispered, voice barely audible, "Mom, who was that? Are they gone?" Aaron's hand trembled as she adjusted the baby against her chest. "I don't know, but we're not safe yet. Not until help arrives." The dog barked once, sharply, then turned toward the woods again. Its gaze seemed to pierce the darkness, seeing something beyond Aaron's understanding. And Lily, exhausted, whispered one word that made Aaron's heart skip. "Mom, why is he still out there?" The forest closed in around them, a dense maze of skeletal trees and tangled roots, shadows stretching like fingers under the pale morning sun. Aaron's lungs burned, holding the baby tight against her chest as she followed the dog, whose frantic movements seemed to pulse with a purpose only it understood. Lily stumbled more than once, her small legs unable to keep pace, but Aaron held her hand firmly, pulling her along. The dog led them down a narrow deer path, barely visible beneath fallen leaves and frost. Aaron's mind raced. Every instinct screamed to return to the main road, call the authorities and get the baby to a hospital. But the dog, desperate, insistent, wouldn't allow it. It circled back constantly, whining, packing, almost as if trying to communicate an urgent warning. "Mom, what is he doing?" Lily asked, breathless, eyes wide with fear. Aaron shook her head, glancing at the dog's intense gaze. "I don't know, baby, but I think he's showing us something important." The path twisted and turned unpredictably, lined with thorn bushes that tore at their clothes and skin. The dog led them farther into the woods than Aaron had ever ventured. Each snap of a twig made her heart leap. Every shadow seemed to hide the man from the shack, the kidnapper, waiting to reclaim what he considered his. The baby whimpered faintly, chest rising in uneven, fragile movements. Aaron whispered soft reassurances, though every word felt hollow against the foreboding silence of the forest. Finally, the dog stopped. Its body stiffened, low to the ground, nose pressed to the underbrush. Aaron froze as the dog barked once sharply, then circled in a small, frantic loop. Lily's grip on her mother's sweatshirt tightened. "There, what is it?" Lily whispered. Aaron knelt, cautiously peering through the brush. A collapsed hunting shack appeared, half hidden by a curtain of drooping branches and vines. Its roof sagged dangerously, boards hung loose like broken teeth. The dog whined, scratching at the base of the structure, pawing at the rotting wood. It was urging them closer. Aaron's heart pounded. "Stay back, Lily, stay close to me." But curiosity, desperation, and an unexplainable trust in the dog's behavior pushed her forward. She carefully lifted the baby, checking the child's fragile condition, and edged toward the shack. The dog growled low, but it stayed behind her, vigilant, protective. Aaron noticed the smell immediately, stale rot, damp wood, and something acrid beneath it all. It stung her nose and made her stomach churn. Her pulse quickened. Something was inside, something alive. The dog began pawing insistently at a section of the shack's floorboards. Aaron knelt, examining the boards. They were loose, rotted, and weak. A muffled sound reached her ears, a faint scraping like someone or something was trapped beneath. The baby whimpered again. Aaron's hands shook as she pulled a board loose, revealing a dark cavity. Inside was another bag, canvas, dirty, heavier than the first. Aaron felt bile rise in her throat. She knelt, glancing back at the dog, whose eyes were wide and pleading. It was urging her, but with a ferocity that warned her she needed to be careful. She unzipped the bag slowly, heart hammering in her chest. Inside were blood-stained clothes and personal items, a wallet, a small phone, and a driver's license, belonging to Clara Whitman, the woman reported missing weeks ago. Aaron's mind raced. The baby, the first bag, the man, they were all connected. The evidence was here now, and danger was closing in. A sudden snap behind them made Aaron spin. The man from the shack appeared again, emerging from the underbrush with a terrifying, predatory glare. He had been following them, watching, waiting. Sweat ran down his filthy face, eyes wild. The tattoo of the river trail on his arm glinted in the dim sunlight. He muttered under his breath, voice rough and menacing, "I told you you weren't supposed to find that." The dog lunged forward, teeth bared, barking with ferocity Aaron had never seen from such a small animal. Aaron pushed Lily behind her and tightened her hold on the baby. The man stepped closer, "Hand me the baby," he hissed. "It's mine." Aaron's stomach turned. "Never," she said, voice shaking but firm. The dog snapped at him, growling and barking, circling his feet like a guardian. The man flinched but didn't retreat. Instead, he lunged toward Aaron, grabbing for the baby. Aaron screamed, jerking back, almost losing her balance. The baby cried out weakly, arms flailing. The dog barked louder, snapping at his legs, teeth flashing. The man cursed, jerking free, but his eyes burned with rage. "You'll regret this," he spat. Aaron realized there was only one chance. They had to run. She grabbed Lily's hand, holding the baby close, and bolted down the narrow path, the dog racing ahead to clear the way. The man screamed behind them, crashing through branches, swearing, closing the distance. The forest was a maze of obstacles, fallen trees, thick brush, tangled roots, but the dog navigated effortlessly, barking, guiding, warning them of danger at every turn. Erin's lungs burned, her legs ached, but adrenaline pushed her forward. Lily stumbled several times, scraping her knees and hands, but Erin pulled her up each time. They finally emerged into a clearing near the creek. Sunlight hit the frozen water, glinting off ice and frost. Erin's chest heaved, the baby cradled safely against her. The dog barked, circling them protectively. And then the man emerged from the trees, closer than ever. His face twisted with rage. He reached out too far, too fast. The dog lunged, biting and snapping. Erin's heart leapt. The man stumbled back, momentarily stunned. But he wasn't defeated. He screamed, raising a heavy branch, and the dog growled in warning. Lily shrieked, gripping Erin's arm. The baby whimpered. Erin knew they had seconds. Seconds to escape or risk losing everything. She spotted her truck in the distance, half hidden behind a copse of trees. Salvation, but also a race against the man's unpredictability. "Go, run," she shouted to Lily, gripping the baby tighter. The dog barked, bolstering her courage. They sprinted toward the vehicle, branches whipping across faces, roots threatening to trip them at every step. The man regained his footing and charged, swinging the branch. The dog snapped at his ankles, barking desperately, drawing his attention and slowing him just long enough for Erin to reach the truck. She flung open the door, shoved Lily inside, and carefully placed the baby in her lap. The dog leapt into the path in front of the man, growling and circling, teeth flashing in warning. Erin's hands shook violently as she started the engine, gravel flying as she reversed the truck. The man screamed in frustration, lunging forward, but the dog's protective instincts held him at bay. As they sped away, Erin glanced in the rearview mirror. The man's figure receded into the trees, furious and unrelenting. The dog slumped, panting, exhausted but still watching the tree line, as if it knew the danger wasn't over. Lily whispered, clutching the baby. "Mom, why did he want the baby?" Erin shook her head, unable to answer. Her mind raced with questions. Who was he? What connection did he have to Clara Whitman? How many more secrets were hidden in those bags and the abandoned shack? And the dog, loyal, desperate, protective, watched the tree line, eyes narrowing. Erin realized in a cold flash. They had survived the immediate threat, but something bigger, darker, and far more dangerous was still out there. The forest seemed to exhale behind them, shadows shifting. The dog whimpered softly, nuzzling the baby's head, but Erin knew the warning in its eyes. This was far from over. Erin's hands were still shaking as she cradled the baby in the passenger seat, the vehicle rattling over gravel and uneven ground. Lily sat next to her, wide-eyed and silent, clutching the blankets around the tiny child. The dog, her silent guardian, slumped against the rear tire, panting but still alert, ears twitching at every distant sound. The forest behind them seemed to exhale, the shadows swallowing the man who had pursued them, but Erin knew better. Danger wasn't gone, it had merely shifted. Her mind raced. The baby had survived barely, but what of Clara Whitman, the woman whose identity now rested in the second bag back in that rotting shack? Erin had glimpsed her wallet, phone, and license before the man appeared. The evidence was here, proof that someone had been hiding more than just a child, someone with intentions far darker than she had imagined. "Mom, what if he comes back?" Lily whispered, voice barely audible. Erin swallowed hard. "We have to get help first, then we figure out the rest." She kept glancing in the rearview mirror, but the forest seemed empty, the danger temporarily out of sight. Her grip on the wheel was white-knuckled. The baby stirred in her lap, tiny hands curling around her fingers, eyes fluttering open briefly before closing again. By the time they reached the main road, Erin spotted the sheriff's station in the distance. She parked haphazardly, heart still hammering, and rushed inside with Lily trailing behind, baby in arms. Officers snapped to attention at the sight of the infant, immediately surrounding her, flashing lights casting harsh shadows on worried faces. "This baby, she's alive," Erin gasped. "Barely. She was left in a bag. The dog led us here. There's a man. Erin's words tumbled over themselves, incoherent with panic and relief. The officers quickly took control, calling medical support and securing the area. Lily clung to Erin, still trembling. The baby was carefully lifted onto a stretcher, medical staff working frantically, eyes wide with urgency. Erin and Lily were ushered to a small waiting area. The dog, exhausted but unwavering, sat outside the emergency entrance, nose pressed to the glass, watching the staff with an almost human understanding. Then the sheriff approached Erin, eyes grim. "We'll need a full statement," he said, voice low. "But first, we have to know about the second bag." Erin felt her stomach drop. She had no intention of going back to the shack alone. It's in the woods. There's more evidence inside, belonging to the missing woman. And the man, he's still out there. The sheriff's face hardened. "Then we move fast. We can't risk him escaping again. Grab the K-9 unit, we go now." Erin's heart thumped. She had thought the immediate danger over, but now it had returned bigger, more tangible, closer than ever. The baby's survival had bought them minutes, but minutes were all they had. By the time they reached the shack with the K-9 unit, the sun had risen higher, casting long, stark shadows across the forest floor. The dog ran ahead, as if recognizing territory it had already claimed, guiding officers toward the precise spot where the second bag had been hidden. Erin followed closely, heart in her throat, knowing what waited inside could change everything. When they arrived, the bag lay where Erin had left it, canvas, worn, stained. Its contents hadn't shifted. The sheriff signaled Erin to stay back as officers carefully unzipped it. Inside were more personal items than Erin had anticipated. Torn clothes, a wallet, the missing woman's driver's license, a small phone, and something else. A folded piece of paper, damp and crumpled. The sheriff pulled it out carefully and unfolded it. Erin leaned in, her stomach twisting. The note was hastily written, lines jagged, letters smeared as if by trembling hands. "They will come for me. Don't trust anyone. Protect my baby, please." Erin's breath caught. This wasn't just a crime, it was a message, a warning, a lifeline from someone in terror. And the man, the one who had chased them, was the reason this note existed. The officers turned toward Erin. "Do you know who wrote this?" one asked. Erin shook her head, unable to speak. Her thoughts were consumed by questions. Clara Whitman, her baby, the man, what had happened in this shack, who else knew, and most importantly, what had the man done to the mother? As if answering her unspoken fears, a faint rustling came from the tree line. The dog stiffened, growling low in its throat, hackles raised. Erin's blood ran cold. The man had returned. He stepped into the clearing with a calculated menace, eyes burning with rage and desperation. He wasn't running this time. He had come for the evidence, for the second bag, for the infant whose life had already been stolen once. "Give me the baby," he hissed, voice low and trembling. "It belongs to me." The officers immediately moved forward, weapons drawn, but the man stepped back, raising his hands mockingly. "No tricks. I only want what's mine," he spat. Erin's heart raced. She realized with a cold clarity that this wasn't just a threat, it was an obsession. He had tied his fate to this child, and he wouldn't stop until he had her. The dog barked, circling the man, standing protectively in front of the second bag and the baby's presence. Erin's chest tightened. The animal's loyalty was extraordinary, almost human in its understanding of danger. Then the man did something unexpected. He threw the folded note into the air. This is useless," he spat. "I've already won. You can't save her from me." The officers tensed. Erin clutched her chest, but the dog lunged, snapping at his legs. The man flinched, retreating into the trees, but this time he didn't disappear. He lingered, watching, calculating. Erin realized something terrifying. The immediate danger had passed, but the threat had only escalated. He was organized, patient, and unrelenting. He would not stop until he retrieved the baby, and perhaps silenced anyone who knew of the second bag. The sheriff stepped forward, voice firm. "You're under arrest," he said. The man laughed, a hollow, chilling sound. "You can't catch me," he hissed. "I've planned this for too long. You have no idea what you've just found." Erin felt her knees weaken. Every piece of evidence they uncovered, the baby, the second bag, the note, was only part of a larger, more horrifying puzzle. And as the man turned to flee into the deeper forest, she realized the dog wasn't finished. It barked sharply, sprinting ahead of the officers, guiding them toward something hidden, something the man wanted desperately to keep secret. Erin's pulse pounded in her ears. She had survived the chase. She had saved the baby. But what lay ahead, the truth inside that shack, the man's intentions, and the mystery of Clara Whitman, was far from over. And the dog, it stared into the trees, eyes narrowed, unwavering. Erin's heart sank as she realized this faithful guardian knew something she didn't, something still out there waiting. The wind whispered through the branches. Shadows lengthened across the clearing, and Erin understood with chilling clarity that the real nightmare had only just begun. The baby was safe for now, but the secrets in the second bag and the man who had created them were far from resolved. The forest seemed alive, whispering with hidden movement as the K-9 unit surged forward, the dog leading the way like a beacon through a labyrinth of shadows. Erin clutched the baby tighter, Lily close at her side, and followed the officers cautiously. Every branch that snapped underfoot, every rustle of leaves, made her stomach twist in dread. She could feel the man's presence lingering somewhere in the maze of trees, watching, calculating, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. The dog darted ahead, barking sharply at intervals, alerting the officers to movement invisible to human eyes. Erin felt a chill run down her spine. This dog knew something they didn't. Its behavior was too precise, too intelligent, too instinctual. It was as if it could see the danger in the shadows before anyone else could. Suddenly the dog stopped, ears flat, nose pressed to the ground, growling low and warningly. Erin froze. She followed the line of its gaze and saw it, half buried under a tangle of fallen leaves and mud, a small hidden hatch in the forest floor. "What is that?" Erin whispered, heart pounding. The sheriff knelt down, examining it. "I don't know, but that dog knows something. This isn't just chance." He gestured to the officers. "Everyone stay alert. We don't know what's down there." The dog barked again, more insistent this time, packing in circles, clearly urging them to investigate. Erin swallowed hard. The baby stirred in her arms, tiny fists clenching. Lily tugged her sleeve. "Mom, what if he's still down there?" Erin shook her head, unable to answer. She didn't know. She only knew that every instinct screamed this hatch held the answers. Answers about Clara Whitman, the baby, and the man who had pursued them with deadly obsession. The sheriff signaled for the hatch to be opened. Officers pried at the rotted wood, splinters flying. When the cover finally gave way, a dark, narrow passage revealed itself, descending into blackness. Erin's stomach lurched. The smell hit her immediately, a pungent mix of mold, damp earth, and something faintly metallic. Fear, sickness, and adrenaline collided in a dizzying storm. "Stay back," the sheriff ordered. "We'll go down first." Erin clutched the baby tightly, heart thudding, as she watched the officers disappear into the shadowed passage, the dog following a few steps behind. Lily held her hand, silent and trembling. Minutes stretched, heavy and suffocating. Then muffled voices echoed from below, whispers, hurried, urgent. Suddenly the dog barked sharply, an almost human-like cry, and bolted down the passage, growling. Erin's stomach dropped. She had a sickening feeling that the dog had found what the man wanted to hide. Moments later, the sheriff and his team emerged, carrying something wrapped in a tarp. Erin's heart froze. Her eyes widened as the tarp was pulled back, revealing Clara Whitman, weak, bruised, and barely conscious, but alive. Erin gasped, her hands trembling as the officers lifted Clara carefully. "She's alive," one of them muttered. "But barely. We need immediate medical care." The baby in Erin's arms whimpered, sensing something, its tiny body trembling. Lily whispered, "Mom, she's alive." Erin nodded, relief and fear twisting together. But then her gaze shifted, scanning the forest. The man was nowhere to be seen. He hadn't returned for the hatch, but that meant he was still out there, watching, waiting. The dog barked again, urgent and insistent, running back toward the trees where the man had disappeared. Erin followed instinctively, clutching the baby. Lily trailed behind, fear etched in every line of her small face. And then they saw him. He emerged from the shadows, eyes wild, clothes torn and dirty, holding something metallic in his hands. A gun. Erin froze, heart leaping into her throat. She instinctively stepped in front of the baby. Lily gasped. The dog growled, low and fierce, bristling like a coiled spring. The man's voice was harsh and broken, dripping with rage. "Hand me the baby now, or she dies." Time slowed. Erin's mind raced. The forest seemed to contract around them, the world narrowing to a single terrifying moment. The baby whimpered, tiny fists clenching as if sensing the danger. Lily clung to Erin's leg, trembling violently. The dog bared its teeth, growling with an intelligence that made Erin's stomach twist. Erin swallowed, voice steady despite the panic. "No, she's not yours." The man's finger tightened on the trigger. His knuckles whitened. Sweat poured down his face, mingling with dirt and grime. He was desperate, unpredictable. One wrong move and everything could end in an instant. The dog lunged, barking furiously, snapping at his ankles. He staggered, trying to aim the gun, but the dog was relentless. Erin's eyes darted around, searching for a way out, for an opportunity to save them all. Then she saw it, a fallen tree branch, thick and heavy, lying just within reach. With a burst of adrenaline, she grabbed it, swinging it with all her strength. It struck the man's arm, making him stumble and drop the gun. The officers, who had cautiously trailed behind, seized the moment, rushing forward to subdue him. Erin's hands were shaking violently as the baby whimpered, and she held it close. Lily pressed against her, silent tears running down her cheeks. The dog circled the man, growling until the officers finally restrained him, dragging him to the ground. Erin sank to her knees, clutching the baby. Relief washed over her, but it was fragile, fragile as glass. The danger was still out there. The forest still whispered secrets, still hid shadows, but for the first time she felt a flicker of hope. Clara Whitman, weak and barely conscious, was carried over by the officers. Erin's chest tightened as she saw the woman's condition. She had survived unimaginable terror, and the baby, miraculously, had survived as well. The dog nuzzled the baby's head, whining softly, eyes reflecting relief and exhaustion. Lily whispered, "Mom, will he ever come back?" Erin shook her head, though fear still gnawed at her. "I don't know, but we've survived this, for now." The man was led away, shouting, protesting, swearing vengeance, but the forest swallowed his words. Erin watched as the officers secured him, and she realized the full weight of what had happened. The baby, Clara, the second bag, the man. They were all pieces of a horrifying puzzle that had been hidden in plain sight. And though one part of the nightmare had ended, the story was far from over. The wind whispered through the trees, carrying the echoes of the chase, the cries of the frightened, and the protective growls of the dog who had guided them all. Aaron clutched the baby closer. Lily rested her head against her mother's shoulder. And in that moment, Aaron understood. They had survived the forest, the man, and the darkness. But the secrets, the danger, and the truths hidden in those bags were still waiting. And the dog, loyal and vigilant, watched the shadows as if silently warning them. This was far from the end. The morning sun was beginning to pierce the forest canopy, scattering long, golden rays across the frost-covered leaves. Aaron sat on the tailgate of her truck, baby cradled carefully in her arms, Lily clinging to her side. The dog sat beside them, ears pricked, alert as if aware the danger wasn't gone, it had only changed form. Officers moved Clara Whitman onto a stretcher and into an ambulance waiting on the road. Her face was pale, bruised, and exhausted, but her eyes flickered with life. Aaron felt a rush of relief, but it was tangled with unease. The man had been captured, or restrained at least, but something told her the worst was far from over. The sheriff approached, his expression grave. "Aaron, what you found in the shack, the bags, the baby, it's only part of a bigger story." He paused, glancing at the dog who had refused to leave the baby's side. "That man, he's not acting alone, and we have reason to believe there's more than one child involved." Aaron's heart sank. "More children," her voice cracked. "How many?" He shook his head. "We don't know, but the second bag, the note, the way he moved, this is part of a coordinated plan, a network, and he isn't at the top, he's a link in a much larger chain." The dog whined softly, nudging the baby's head. Aaron felt the truth in that simple gesture. This animal had led them straight to the baby, straight to Clara, straight to the shack, and now it was trying to guide them again toward something unseen. Lily tugged at Aaron's sleeve. "Mom, it wants us to go somewhere." Aaron glanced at the sheriff. It knows something. I think it's trying to lead us to the other kids or to evidence." The sheriff hesitated, then nodded. "We can't ignore the dog. Let's follow it, but carefully. You stay close to the baby and your daughter. This could be dangerous." Aaron lifted the baby into her arms, feeling its tiny warmth against her chest. The dog barked sharply, then sprinted into the forest, ears forward, tail high, moving with urgent purpose. Aaron followed, officers flanking her, Lily trailing closely. The forest seemed different now, quieter, heavier, as if it held its breath, waiting for what was to come. After 10 minutes of moving cautiously through tangled underbrush and frozen leaves, the dog stopped abruptly at the base of a giant oak tree. Its body tensed, nose to the ground, eyes staring into a hollow at the trunk's base. Aaron knelt, peering inside. Inside the hollow were signs of recent occupancy, small scraps of clothing, a tattered blanket, and a second canvas bag. Aaron's heart clenched. Another one. Another life, another secret. The sheriff signaled for backup, and officers carefully unzipped the bag. Aaron held her breath. Inside was another child, this one older, no more than 3 or 4 years old, dirty, shivering, but alive. Its eyes opened slowly, blinking at the sudden light, fear and confusion etched across its small face. The child let out a faint cry, and Aaron's chest ached. "You're safe now," she whispered, lifting the child gently from the bag, holding it close. Lily's eyes widened, and the baby in Aaron's arms stirred, as if sensing its new companion. The dog barked softly, tail wagging, nudging the child toward Aaron as if approving her protection. But then came the sound that froze Aaron's blood. Leaves crunching underfoot, faster this time, deliberate, heavy. The man from the shack, or someone connected, was back. The officers raised their weapons, forming a protective perimeter. The dog growled low, bristling, circling Aaron and the children. Aaron clutched both bobbies, heart pounding. Lily pressed herself against her mother, silent tears streaming down her face. A shadow appeared between the trees, a figure moving with careful, calculated steps. It wasn't the man from the shack. This figure was taller, broader, moving with a sense of authority and menace. Erin's stomach dropped. The dog barked fiercely, warning, and Erin instinctively tightened her grip on the children. The figure stepped into the clearing, revealing a familiar face, someone she hadn't expected to see. The woman who had reported the man missing months earlier, a woman connected to the case but whose motives had been unclear until now. "You shouldn't have come here," the woman said, voice icy. "These children, they're not yours to save." Erin felt a wave of disbelief. "Who are you?" she demanded, voice trembling. "What is this? Why are you doing this?" The woman smiled, cold and calculating. "This is bigger than you, Erin. These children, they're evidence. They are leverage, and if you interfere, you'll regret it." The dog growled low in warning, stepping protectively in front of Erin and the children. Erin realized in that instant that it understood more than she did. It knew the woman's danger, knew that she would stop at nothing to reclaim what she considered hers. The sheriff stepped forward, voice firm. "Put the children down, step away. You're surrounded." The woman's eyes darted toward the forest. "You think you have them cornered. You don't understand. There are others watching, waiting, and if I fail, they'll make sure you do too." Erin's mind raced. Others, watching, waiting. The man had been only one piece of a much larger network, and now this woman was revealing the terrifying truth. They were dealing with a web far bigger, far more dangerous than she had imagined. The dog barked again sharply, sensing something Erin couldn't yet see. She followed its gaze. Shadows moved among the trees, multiple figures just beyond sight, circling, watching, waiting. Erin's chest tightened. "They're everywhere," she whispered, voice barely audible. The woman smiled again, cruelly, as if confirming her worst fears. "And they always will be. These children, they belong to a system you can't fight." The dog lunged forward suddenly, barking and growling with an intelligence that made Erin's head spin. The woman stumbled back, surprised, giving the sheriff and his team the opening they needed to move forward, securing the children. Erin held them close, heart racing. Lily hugged the baby, whispering, "We have to protect them." But Erin knew it wouldn't be that simple. The network, the hidden force behind the man, the bags, and now this woman was still out there, watching, planning. And now they had seen Erin, the bobbies, the dog, and the evidence she had discovered. As the sheriff radioed for reinforcements, Erin realized the truth. Their lives had changed forever. The forest, the dogs, the bags, the children, they were all part of a web of secrets, lies, and danger she could not yet untangle. The woman retreated into the shadows, vanishing like smoke, leaving Erin, the children, Lily, and the dog standing in the clearing, hearts pounding, the wind whispering through the trees like a warning. The nightmare wasn't over. Erin held the children close, looking into Lily's terrified eyes. "We can't let them take anyone else," she whispered. "But how do we fight something we can't even see?" The dog barked again, sharp and insistent, tail stiff, eyes fixed on the dark forest ahead. Erin's blood ran cold as she realized the real battle had only just begun. And in the shadows, the network watched, waiting for the moment to strike again. The forest was quiet now, but the air was thick with tension, every rustle of leaves and distant bird call echoing like a warning. Erin held the bobbies close, one in her arms, the other cradled protectively against her chest, while Lily clung to her side. The dog, still vigilant, prowled around them, ears twitching, nose sniffing the air like it could detect danger invisible to human eyes. The sheriff's team formed a circle around the group, weapons drawn, but Erin's gaze was fixed on the shadowed tree line where the woman and her network had disappeared. The sense of being watched never left. It pressed against her chest like a weight. Every instinct told her that what had begun in the shack with the first bag was not over, not by a long shot. Suddenly, movement flickered in the shadows. Figures emerged, more than Erin had expected. Men and women, masked and silent, stepping into the clearing with a precision that sent chills down her spine. The woman from before led them, her eyes cold, calculating, unwavering. Erin's blood ran ice cold as she realized. This was the core of the network, the real force behind the abductions. "Step away from the children," the sheriff commanded, voice firm but steady. "You're surrounded. Surrender now and no one else has to get hurt." The woman smiled, faint and cruel. "Surrender? No, you have no idea what you've stumbled into. These children, they are keys. Keys to leverage, control, and secrets that the world cannot know." Her eyes glinted with a terrifying clarity. "And you, Erin, you've endangered everything by coming here." Erin's mind raced. The network, the man, the bags, the children, it was a larger operation, carefully orchestrated. And now she understood why the dog had insisted on leading her here. It wasn't just guiding her to safety. It was guiding her to the truth. The dog growled low, baring its teeth. Then, in an astonishing move, it darted forward, barking, snapping at the leading figures, forcing them to scatter slightly. Erin realized it was not just protecting her. It was forcing the network to reveal themselves. The woman's face twisted in rage. "You think your little dog can stop me? You think you can survive this?" Before Erin could respond, the dog lunged again, but this time it was joined by other K-9 units that had followed the sheriff's call. Chaos erupted in the clearing. Officers moved with trained precision, separating the network members, securing the children, and disarming the few armed adults who hadn't fled into the trees. In the confusion, Erin spotted the man from the shack, hiding behind a tree, watching the chaos with wide, fearful eyes. His plan had unraveled and he knew it. Erin's heart pounded. The dog barked again and he bolted, running deeper into the forest. Erin ran after him, baby in arms, Lily at her side following the dog's lead. Branches whipped across their faces, roots threatened to trip them, but the chase had become instinct, adrenaline-driven survival. The man stumbled over a fallen log, falling hard. Erin skidded to a stop, heart racing, and the dog pinned him with a low, menacing growl. You'll never get away with this," he spat, voice shaking with terror and rage. "You won't hurt anyone else," Erin said, voice firm despite her exhaustion. "It's over." The sheriff arrived moments later, cuffing the man and securing him. Erin sank to her knees, shaking violently, cradling the bobbies. Lily hugged both children, tears streaming down her face. Relief flooded her in waves, but it was tempered by the knowledge that the network's reach had been vast, and their plans had been more sinister than she had ever imagined. The woman, cornered but defiant, was finally approached by officers. Her eyes burned with fury, but she remained silent, refusing to give away the rest of the network's secrets. Erin realized that while this immediate danger had ended, the fight against the broader operation would continue. There would be investigations, trials, and more revelations to come. Clara Whitman, now stabilized in the ambulance, was awake enough to whisper, weakly but with clarity, "Thank you for saving my baby and me." Erin's heart ached as she nodded, tears streaming. The baby in Clara's arms stirred, finally calm, sensing safety for the first time in weeks. The dog, exhausted but still vigilant, nudged the bobbies gently, ensuring their comfort. It had guided Erin through the entire ordeal, through danger, through fear, through discovery. Without its persistence, without its intelligence and loyalty, the truth of the bags, the children, and the network might have remained buried in the forest forever. Erin finally exhaled, the tension in her body slowly unwinding. She glanced at Lily, who was asleep against her shoulder, small arms wrapped around the baby she had briefly protected. Erin whispered softly, voice barely audible, "We did it. We saved them. We really did." The forest, once menacing and shadowed, now seemed to exhale. Sunlight streamed through the canopy, highlighting the frozen leaves and broken branches. Birds began to call. It was a fragile peace, but a peace nonetheless. The sheriff turned to Erin, voice solemn. "You've done more than anyone could ask. The investigation isn't over, but today you saved lives." Erin nodded, still trembling. She knew the network's reach was vast, that many questions remained unanswered. But she had witnessed courage, loyalty, and determination in ways she had never imagined. And she had learned the extraordinary bond between humans and the animals who protect them. The dog barked softly, nudging the baby one last time, then settled at Erin's feet. Lily stirred, waking briefly to whisper, "Mom, he's gone, right?" Erin smiled, exhausted but relieved. "Yes, baby, he's gone. We're safe now." For the first time in what felt like an eternity, Erin allowed herself to breathe fully. The Bobbies were alive. Clara was alive. The immediate danger was neutralized, and the dog, the unsung hero, had guided them through every impossible moment. But even as she felt relief, Erin knew the story wouldn't end here. The network's shadows lingered, secrets waiting to surface, and justice still needed to be fully served. Yet in this moment she let herself embrace the small, precious victory. Life had been saved and courage had prevailed. The forest, once dark and foreboding, now glowed with morning light. Erin stood, holding the Bobbies tightly, Lily beside her, the dog loyal at her feet. And as they walked toward the waiting ambulance, the weight of what they had endured settled upon them, not as a burden, but as a testament to survival, bravery, and the unbreakable bond between human and animal, mother and child, protector and protected. And though shadows would always remain in the corners of the forest, Erin knew this. For now, the children were safe, the bags were uncovered, the man and the woman had been stopped, and the dog's vigilance had turned the tide. As the ambulance doors closed, the dog sat quietly watching the forest, ears alert. Erin glanced back, heart swelling with gratitude and awe. Its eyes met hers, and for a moment it was clear. This dog had saved more than lives. It had saved hope. And in that quiet, sunlit forest, Erin whispered softly, almost to herself, "We made it together."